Hi everyone, today we're going to do 7.4, Motivated Forgetting and Misinformation. The objective for today is that students will be able to explain how our memories can be altered by reading Loftus's study on memory and answering a set of questions. In order to do that, we're going to talk a little bit about how forgetting happens. So this really should have talked about in 7.3, and I forgot to add it in there, so I'm adding it in now, and that's fine. Is motivated forgetting. So this is when we talk about retrieval for failure, and you're motivated to forget something. The first part of motivated forgetting is self-serving personal histories. So if you think about your own personal history, and we think about what self-serving means, it means that you're remembering things that self-serve you, that make you look better or make your memories better. And that would be a type of motivated forgetting the things that would make you maybe look bad. Another type of motivated forgetting is repression. And this is actually a defense mechanism that banishes from consciousness any anxiety-arousing thoughts, feelings, and memories. Obviously, not everything is repressed, or we would get rid of all the bad memories, but repression does exist and it can happen. This is a cool graphic that I wanted to show you guys about a visual of essentially forgetting and how that happens. So you start off with all of this sensory information around you. By the time it gets to short-term memory, you have about half of that. By the time it gets to long-term storage, even about half of that. And then even a fraction of that is what you can actually retrieve from your long-term memory. Misinformation is another problem with memory. And Loftus was a psychologist that did a lot of memory studies. And what was discovered, what was called the misinformation effect. And what that said was that if you ask leading questions, you can get an answer that is not accurate. Sorry, we see this happen a lot, or we used to see this happen a lot when people were being questioned by, let's say, police officers. So if you have two questions, how fast do you think the car was I'm sorry, my apologies. So if you have a question about a car accident, you can ask it two ways. What speed do you believe the car was traveling before the accident? Or you can ask, how fast was the car going when it smashed into the other car? As you can see, the first one tries to stay very neutral. The second one is adding a leading question where you're trying to give information about how fast that car might have been going. A second type of misinformation is called source amnesia. And this is when you can't remember the source of the information. So you remember something, you just don't know where it came from. Oh, sorry, guys. Third, eyewitness testimony is not always accurate. We find that a lot of times it's not correct. It can be, it definitely can be right, but it is not always accurate, and it's something that should be taken into consideration with other pieces of evidence. Children of abuse. Children do get abused. That is something that happens. Unfortunately, children of abuse, or children in general, are vulnerable to suggestibility. Meaning that, again, the way that you phrase things or the way that you say things could alter the information that they provide you. They're not lying intentionally, but it's a misinformation that they're giving you. One example of this, not for abuse, is just the suggestibility. Is every day I ask my daughter, how amazing was your day today? So I'm starting off the question with this suggestibility that her day was already amazing. Loftus, back up here from the top, did studies with children knowing their ability to be suggestible to information, and again found the very similar effects that you have to be very careful with the types of questions you ask children, and you can't ask leading questions because it can allow for misinformation from children. The American Psychological Association is very clear on this, though. They want to make sure that people understand that abuse does happen. It's something to be taken very seriously, but there's a couple things that they want people to realize. First off, no one can accurately remember any pieces of information or memories before the age of 3. Your brain just doesn't have that ability to do that. It's too busy learning how to be alive. Another important piece of information is that if you were hypnotized, it does not bring back repressed memories, okay? So it can't bring back something that you thought might have happened to you when you were a young child. That can't happen under hypnotism, and we'll talk about hypnotism more when we talk about altered states of consciousness. And then finally, a few things to improve memory. We'll go back from the top. Study repeatedly, study over and over and over again. Make the material meaningful for yourself. Activate any retrieval cues that might be helpful. Use mnemonic devices. Minimize interference. Sleep more. And then finally, test your own knowledge, both to rehearse it and to help determine what you do not know. And that is it for today.